Hi guys. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about debate. This is going to be our next unit. We're going to go into argument and we're going to start here. So the Lincoln-Douglas debate is a style of debate that is done in high schools mainly and also in middle schools. That's based on Abraham and Lincoln and Stephen A. Douglas's debate that they had during 1858. And this debate focused on slavery and the morals, values, and logic behind it. That's why this kind of debate is called the Lincoln-Douglas debate. And it's a style of debate that's also called a values debate because you're basing your judgment on logic, ethical values, and philosophy. So today, while you are watching this video, there's going to be a few points where I'm going to ask you to stop, just like this. So when you see this stop sign right here, I want you to stop and follow the directions given. So let's start here. Let's start with a few definitions. That's always a great place to start. So a debate is an exercise where two sides argue with each other over a formal matter. So usually there's some kind of a topic with a debate, and there's two sides to that debate. So in this type of debate, you're first given a resolution, which can also be called a resolved. And it's a specific statement or question up for debate. So for example, if you look in the picture right here, you'll see homework should be banned and animals should not be kept in cages. Now, these both have two sides, right? There are two sides to every debate. So for example, you might say homework should be banned or homework should not be banned. Now, the affirmative side or the pro side is the side in the debate that affirms or agrees with the resolution. It's the pro for the issue. Whereas the negative side or the nay side, the con side, is the side in the debate that negates or disagrees with the resolution, is con the issue, is against the issue. So right now what I want you to do is I want you to stop and I want you to copy down these 4 definitions where you have room on your worksheet. And when you're ready, you can play again. So let's look at an issue so that we can understand a little bit about how this system works, how this type of debate works. So Nike. Nike is a really controversial issue because there are two sides to Nike. We all love them, they're great, but on the other hand, they also cost people a lot of turmoil in developing countries. Let's take a look. So first we're going to be given a resolution, like I said before. So it's called a resolved, and in this case, it's an affirmative or pro, the resolution. So Nike should continue to produce shoes in developing countries regardless of the human cost. That is the resolve that I'm given. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look and I am going to try to define the terms that I don't really understand. So term number 1 that I don't really understand is continue to produce. So I might take a look at the internet to try to see what that means, or I might just think about break those words down. So if I'm going to continue to produce something, that means I'm probably going to continue to make it. So I think in this context, it means that the company should continue making this product. Now, it also says developing countries. So developing countries is something that I'm also a little bit confused about. So developing countries, I might look that up even. And if I was to search that in Google, I would probably type define developing countries. And this is what I came up with when I did that. Developing countries is a poor agricultural country, that is working to become more advanced both by means of money and socially. So the next one that I'm going to look at is regardless. Regardless I came up with is without paying attention to the current situation. So it's completely ignoring a situation, and even though this, then it doesn't matter because we're going to disregard that. And what they're disregarding in this case is the human cost. So I actually had to search this one up because I had a hard time defining what human cost meant, because I didn't know if it meant that it costs people actual money or if it's like lives. And I came up with that it's both. So human cost is people sacrificing their time, money, and maybe even their life in order to do something. So if I was to redefine the resolution, I might say something like Nike should keep making shoes in poor agricultural countries without paying attention to the fact that people have to sacrifice their time, money, and even their life to produce it. So that helps me kind of understand now what this resolution is saying. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try to figure out what the negative or opposing side of the argument might be. So take a note that during a Lincoln-Douglas debate, you'll only receive one side of the argument, and it's up to you to try to figure out what the other side is. It's really important to try to come up with an idea of what this might be before doing any research on the topic. So if I go back to this side again, and I look at the affirmative resolution, I see that Nike should continue to produce shoes in developing countries regardless of the human cost. So I probably would think that the negative side or the con side is going to be opposite of that. So that means that Nike should not continue to produce. So this is what I came up with. Nike needs to stop producing shoes in developing countries because the human cost is too great. So this is basically saying that Nike shouldn't keep producing shoes in countries that are poor agriculturally because the human cost is just too high and people are suffering too much. Now, in order to be well prepared for a debate, we need to know what our opponents might say. That's why it's important to come up with the other side of the debate and come up with possible evidence for each side. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to look at evidence for each side. This might involve a little bit of research, which I did prior to making this video. So I already have a little bit of information about what each side of Nike might say. So let's take a look at that. So this you're going to, at the end, after you've seen all of the evidence that I'm going to show you, I want you to stop and write everything down on your paper. So the evidence to support the affirmative or pro side. So let's take a look again. This is the pro side. Nike should continue to produce shoes in developing countries regardless of the human cost. So let's look at that. People love Nike shoes, clothing, and accessories because we are focused on a healthy lifestyle which Nike promotes. So that's one thing. The products are high in quality. Their items are stylish and comfortable. And Nike is considered a good brand. It creates jobs for people worldwide, and their products are only getting better. So now let's look at the evidence to support the negative side. Nike needs to stop producing shoes in developing countries because the human cost is too great. So this is what I came up with, the negative side. People in developing countries are paid less than $1 an hour. People have to endure unfavorable working conditions such as inhaling fumes, working in rundown buildings, and working along long hours or overtime for little to no pay. They use child labor. I meant to say the company uses child labor. And the company exploits developing countries in order to save a few dollars. So right now what I want you to do is I want you to stop and I want you to write down some of these pro and con, or affirmative and negative evidence for your resolutions. Finally, here are a few next steps that I want you to take. The first thing that I want you to do is I want you to read over the next resolution listed on your paper in front of you. Try to define the terms that you don't understand and feel free to use the internet. So right now I'm going to ask you to stop and do that. When you're finished, you can come back to the video. Step number 2, try to come up with an argument for the other side of this argument. Remember, it just needs to be a rough idea because you'll be able to go back and revise that idea. So again, stop and try to come up with this other idea. Step 3 and 4. So step 3, you're going to begin watching the videos and reading the articles below. And then I want you to start gathering evidence for each side of the argument, just like on your sheet. Answer the discussion question in Schoology is your final thing that you will do for the day. Thanks, guys. See you later.